The bigger question I have, now that we're in the gist of it, let's talk about these riots. Have you heard about what they're calling the Red Mirage?
No.
Did I mention that to you earlier?
No, you
so
didn't.
what they're saying is that Donald Trump will, the Democratic analytics firm said Trump will landslide on November 3rd. Democrats said that. And then over the next week, Biden will win because of mail-in voting.
Oh, I saw your tweet.
Yeah.
This is a tweet, right?
Well, I did a whole video about it.
Okay, I saw something on that.
And so here's what.
Wow.
Right. So this is a guarantee for disaster, because if on election night they say Donald Trump has won every state, but California, Oregon, and Washington, people are going to be like, he did it. Trump supporters are going to say he did it. And then a week later, they're going to come back like, oh, by the way, Biden actually won. They're going to be like, no, he didn't. I saw it. I watched. They said Trump won. They showed he had all the states. There's no way. This is not real. The Biden supporters are going to be like, you're not counting the votes properly. Biden won. And when both sides are adamant that they've won, what happens?
Okay, this is where I give my live stream addendums so that we don't get you busted here. I never sponsor violence. I don't promote violence, whatever, yada, yada, whatever else I have to say to not get fired or get this live stream taken off. But, bringing into this, we are in a clear factionary state. There are two sides in a powder keg waiting for somebody to set off. And I want to remind people how the Civil War started and how civil wars do start. Civil wars, and we were talking about this earlier, aren't usually what people think, where it's like, oh, everybody's blowing each other's brains
They're marching.
out. It's
Red
like,
versus blue, marching down the street.
Why do you think there's like, oh, this battle, or there's a battle of Gettysburg? Like, why do we have these like famous people, or Battle of Iwo Jima? Like, why is there famous battles? It's because war is strategy. There's specific places and regions where you do your fighting is not to exhaust limited resources, especially because it's hard to get public and proper public backing to a civil war. It's definitely something that I would say the majority of populace are usually opposed to.
Yeah.
In most times, and no one wants war on their doorstep, especially a developed country of people who have seen it happen in other countries that we are fighting for democracy in. But I will say this: we are, and I will declare this here. I put my branding slightly offensive backing. I cannot put the Blaze backing on this, but I put my branding. I think we are in a soft core civil war. And I mean, the other type of hardcore, soft core material.
I think we're in an overt civil war.
But I'm saying about soft core, meaning like to me, it's like, because, I'm not going to listen to my wording here. In the 80s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, someone would find a magazine, a kid would find it of their parents or whatever and be like, whoa, what's going on there? Then with the advent of the internet, we got all these weird categories of this kind of adult-like content.
Yeah.
And so now, people who once perhaps were excited. I'm being good with my words. Lydia's looking at me. I'm being good. I'm being careful about this. We're perhaps excited by something very simple, something etc. That's called softcore. Are now deadened inside to the most atrocious and weird types of things the mind could think of in that regard. And I think that's what we're seeing with this violence and this stuff, and kind of what I call myself a softcore Civil War producer, because we're kind of like producing stuff that people are getting desensitized to this, to where it's like, oh, another person stabbed and shot.
So this is...
Okay, let's see something harder.
It's escalation and desensitization.
So we're softcore, meaning it's softcore because people are like, it's people are dead into the isolated incidences. It's like, okay, another person shot, whatever.
No, I think Portland ends your softcore theory.
You think it's hardcore there?
I mean, they targeted them.
Yes, but the media has done a pretty good job at still lying to the masses.
It doesn't matter whether there are people who believe one thing or another. What matters is a guy with who's under investigation.
Jay, right? His nickname, Jay?
No. I'm talking about the far leftist guy who is accused of this right now, under the assumption that we know who the guy is, the murderer, because they're investigating the guy. He has a big Black Lives Matter tattoo on his neck.
Ooh.
He yelled, "We got him right here. We got a couple right here." Someone else says, "Pull it out right here." Yeah. Then Jay and the other guy turn around. The guy who dies pulls out what it appears to be that he pulls out mace and then takes two to the chest. The friend of Jay, I think his name was Aaron Danielson, said that they were walking.
No, I think Aaron Danielson's the victim. His friend is Chandler Papas.
They called his name is Aaron J. Danielson. They called him Jay.
Oh no, I'm saying, but his friend is Chandler Papas, right? Yeah.
Well, I don't know the guy's name.
Yeah.
But his friend said that they turned around when they heard someone yell, "We got him right here. We got a couple right here. Pull it out." They turned around and they says before he knows what happened, 2 shots were fired, and then his friend staggered down and died. At that point, it's I mean, it's almost, I mean, maybe it's not, but maybe it is the shot heard around the world that we've crossed into hot territory. We've been seeing low tier skirmishes and we've been seeing resource battles for the past couple of years. I was talking about civil war a few years ago and a lot of people scoffed and laughed about it. And then the things I predicted started to happen. And then I talked about earlier this year that they'll show up to your house. And then they showed up to Cassandra Fairbanks' house.
I did remember earlier on you were saying that, and I didn't think you were lying. I was just there in the midst of this, and I remember hearing reports from people like you saying they're coming to the houses, and I remember thinking in that moment, like, that's going to be so weird when that happens, and I didn't know it was going to happen like
It's
now.
happening faster and faster and faster.
I didn't think so.
Following the death of the guy in Portland, Antifa started making posts saying they need bulletproof vests and ballistic gear.
Yeah, they're getting financing. Outside financing, they really are. No, that's expensive. Look, I'm gonna tell you this. I have a company which I'm not gonna plug on your show because I wouldn't plug my own sponsors. But I have a great armor company to sponsor my show, and I see they're providing me all this stuff, ballistic helmet, everything, concealed stuff. Yeah, and I looked at the price tag that they're saving me from paying, and it's good quality stuff. So this is not useless. This is American made stuff. To buy 50, 40, vests and helmets, I mean,
It's
you're
like
talking
$600.
But I'm talking
for
about
like
you're
low,
the tens of
low
thousands
grade.
of dollars for all this stuff. Nobody that's there has tens of thousands of dollars to give away. Who's funding this?
They raised $2 million for Jacob Blake. They're launching GoFundMe fundraisers, and GoFundMe allows it. They're posting on Twitter their Venmo and their Cash App or whatever, and they're getting money from random people online. Probably a lot of people from outside the country too. The point is not so much about financing, because I think, and we'll definitely talk about Donald Trump's theory about, you hear what he's talking about, the planes full of thugs? He's right. It's true.
Very interesting.
It's true. It's just the media doesn't want to take the honest assessment and interpret what he's actually talking about. But so I'll just talk about this. Donald Trump said that there are planes full of thugs in uniforms, and that somebody saw this on a plane. They got very scared. What the left imagines is a bunch of like big dudes wearing military gear getting on a plane to go rough up the RNC. What the person probably saw was a bunch of leftists with patches and like BLM tattoos getting on a plane. And that happens all the time. I don't know if you see this because you fly around a lot, right?
I'll tell you this. So I try to be careful because even when I film footage that is not debatable, good old articles and periodicals like The Intercept, very dishonest places, will do whatever they can to discredit you. So I try to keep this stuff out of the air. But one thing now, there's these. Do you know about these really incredible like journalists that have risen out of these riots, like Kaylin Dalmeda from Scriber, Drew from Lives Matter? I think you guys
Drew,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
There's you guys have them tomorrow. There's Drew, George Ventura, Shelby Talcott, Richie McGinnis from the Daily Caller.
Definitely.
These are just Andy No. Of course, everyone knows
Right.
Andy No. These are just incredible people who are out there just exposing this stuff. And one thing that a lot of them have mentioned is like when you fly out of major QLA airports like Los Angeles, and you will have people on the plane, like when I was going up to Sacramento or when I'm going up to Portland, people are on your flight with helmets and stuff,
Yep.
and they're not press.
Right.
Nobody brings helmets, black-clad helmets and stuff. I'm watching people, and this is where the Kenosha stuff, the police found out, right, that there was 44 different cities in the detainments and arrests.
175 arrests, 104, I believe, were from outside Kenosha.
I see the same people, and I know Drew will echo this. I see the same people at cities across the country, and at least, but see, here's the point. I'm openly admitting I'm not from those cities. I'm not there to participate in the demonstrations. I'm not being dishonest. I'm being honest. Like, my intent is to go there and to capture the events, to put it up on Twitter so people can make their own judgment, create my own show. So if people want my opinion, they go watch Slightly Offensive. Whatever, do your thing. But if you are getting on planes, I mean, you look at these people, they're professionals. I think in Portland, it was Portland, one of the people was a Google engineer that got arrested.
We used to call these people the tourists because we knew them. We knew who they were. So I used to, so Trump brings this up, and the media and all these leftists are calling him a conspiracy theorist right now. And I'm like, when Trump said that, I was like, because I used to fly at the peak of my career covering the stuff on the ground. I flew about 1.7 times per week, if you did the actual math. So just about twice per week I was flying on some plane somewhere.
Were you like executive platinum or something?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, of course.
Free upgrades to first class?
Absolutely,
Oh, yeah,
always.
that's the life.
Yep, I'd walk right in and be like, out of my way, first class. But I'd notice two things. The journalists always bring in their tripods, and the far leftists go into the riot. And I always thought it was funny. Like when I'm flying to, St. Louis, I went to St. Louis back and forth several times. Oh, you'd see them in New York. there'd be like 4 or 5 people wearing clothes with patches and symbols and marks all over their bags with like slogans or whatever. And you're like, I know exactly what that person's going to do. I always tell people, though, it's not cheap. I'm sorry, it's not expensive. It is cheap. Flying is not that expensive.
What about driving, though? Because, okay, you know,
they drive
do you know about the Antifa snack van?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the Antifa snack van, Savannah Hernandez from Action 7, she was in Portland about a few days earlier of the RNC speech with Trump. And she had recorded the snack van's tires being slashed. People don't know what this is.
I remember that.
This is...
Big white van, right?
This is a big white van that offers supplies to Antifa, varied supplies. There's this weird thing at these riots where people like love passing out snacks. Like, I don't know about you, but like, I don't know. I mean, like, Cheez-Its are good, but like Cheez-Its paired with Molotov cocktails, there's better combinations.
Don't underestimate giving people food. I mean, so...
snacks, isn't that so childish? Like, here's a snack, Ryder.
No. You know the history of Gatorade?
Enlighten me.
So they used to, it was the Florida Gators. I could be getting this wrong, but I'll give you the gist of the idea. They used to shoot pickle juice when they were playing sports because it's got electrolytes. It's, salty brine.
I love it.
They decided to make an actual drink that would help keep them hydrated and keep their electrolyte levels up. People underestimate how much better you perform when you're properly fed and hydrated. So when you see the Antifa going out and giving out energy drinks or they're literally fueling the unrest. I don't know if you're going to charge someone for handing out bags of Cheez-Its, but when people are running around and you give them food energy, you are ensuring it goes on longer, particularly if you're giving out drinks, energy drinks, sports drinks, or whatever.
I didn't, and I think that's where the complicitness in a lot of these riots come from different factors. And I want to bring this up, like whether it's short distance. By the way, the point of the Antifa snack van is it was in D.C. a few days later, which is crazy.
They were in Kenosha.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, so you'll notice the same outfits, like a certain flag that was in Chicago that's in Kenosha. That's more understandable. Okay, somebody drove from Chicago to Kenosha. I did the same thing. Let's not get too, out there with these ideas. Everyone's, going across borders. But what I did know is I do ask people, Austin Fletcher, I mentioned him earlier, a really good creator, early in 2017, 2016, used to ask people at the end of them complaining about Trump, famously, oh, who did you vote for? And they would always be like, I didn't vote.
Right.
The new thing is, oh, Jacob Blake, like I have multiple interviews, which there's so much unreleased footage on my channel and things I've been releasing recently because once you involve some sort of a gun-related altercation, etc., the everything else that you could post is not worth it at that point. Like I understand as a journalist, it's just not worth posting.
You can upload the raw to like an archive.
Well, yeah, I know, but at that point, right, I didn't upload a bunch. But I interviewed people and I'd ask them, they'd be like, Jacob Blake got shot. This is Kenosha. This is our county. And I'd be like, where are you from? And they'd be like, oh, I drove in. Right. I drove in from Missouri. And you're like, well, look, I'm all for people that wanting justice. Not that the situation is a case of justice or injustice. I'm not going to comment on that. I according to the accounts of people involved, it looks like it was probably warranted, but I'm not the jury or the judge here. But I will say this: I'm going. This is a Monday night, and I'm thinking, this is my job, so I'm here because this is my job. Where do you work? And like from traveling on trips, the costs do add up. The hotels and food, etc. Where are you staying, though? Like, where are these people?
That's easy. It's not expensive to do what they're doing.
But you say that as a guy who's established. For a lot of people, $10 is a lot of money.
When I first got started, I had no income, and I would just be like, hey, if you want to support my work, you can go to my WePay. And then I would get a couple.
So it's crowdfunded anarchy.
But it's not just that. I'd post a tweet. Anybody got a place I could stay at in Los Angeles? And I'd get 50 responses.
Yeah, people do message me, offer me, by the way, thank you. People offer me, like, someone offered me the other day for a brisket, but also even cooler. They asked me to come over for brisket. I wasn't in town. I drank a beer on set with Stu Bergier, who's a host at Blaze. And it turns out that the owner of the brewery, you're not going to know which one because you don't know what episode that was, is actually likes the riot coverage in the show. And now I'm going to go get some beers at the place. Cool. So no, but I get what you're saying is like the connections, people are passionate about this stuff and they want to support it. So you're saying you don't think it's, because I know people say it's like, oh, the open society, it's Soros. You think it's more just crowdfunded.
It's not even crowdfunded. It's social credit, social currency. So I still know a lot of people who do this. You tweet. Anybody got a place I can stay? Boom. They have Facebook groups. They're well organized. a lot of people are like, how are they paying for this? And listen, man, they say the same thing about me. Who's funding Tim Pool? Find out who his backer is. And I'm like, no one. It's like I run a business with, multiple revenue streams. I fund myself. I work for no one. I have no deals with anybody else. I sometimes mention that you can buy emergency food.
You work harder than most people, though. Really, you put out too much content in a good way.
Well, so these people can literally, because what I did, when I went to South by Southwest the first time in 2012, March, I just tweeted, anybody got a place I can stay? And I had 50 offers. And I crashed in a guest house. It was like an Airbnb, essentially. Someone's like, here's the keys. Here you go. Keep it up, man. Good luck. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, well, you know what, and that's why there's this. It's really interesting right now too, because I know that during the 2016 era, a lot of people rose to influence. Where like, this is what I noticed is that the people who came out of like 2016, there was this political influencers, where it was like you don't exactly know why they're famous, but they have influence, and a lot of them have. I mean, I'm a married man. I'm not saying this inappropriately. These are very good-looking girls with very nice bodies that young men probably just like to follow because men like to hear women that look good spouse their ideas on camera.
That's why Fox News hires a bunch of blonde women.
Right. So it's like, and there's nothing wrong with being hot and using your good looks to get ahead in life. Hey, do what you got to do. But a lot of these people are just, I don't know what they do. And I don't have an understanding. But a lot of, they're good looking. That's my point. But the people who are rising up during this election season are like myself, like these just like fugly guys who are like, hey, I'll go put myself to go get killed, so you don't have to. Well, I've been around for years, but I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of these, it's just, you know what I'm saying? The people who are rising up now show you how serious it actually is, because you raised up then because you were hot and you could bring attention and you were a little bit crass. Now it's like you're getting big because you're showing people getting shot, like BG on the Scene. You seen that journalist or whatever? The guy went from like obscurity to like Twitter famous in a matter of like 45 days.
Do the work.
Because he's doing the work. He's in the trenches. Generals are made in the trenches.
Yeah, man. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. And we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.